afternoon, everybody. St. Louis, how about that city museum? Yeah. Kind of wild. Do we still have the same number of people here? Doing an amazing job. But before we actually get started with the state of the word, I have a surprise for you. So there's been a documentary made about WordPress. I think it really captures the spirit of who we are and what we do. So before we get started, I'd like to present the world premiere of Open, the community code.
So Matt, there's a $10 billion WordPress. How do you reconcile all volunteers giving so much of their time to the community without pay and the business of WordPress that makes so much money?
I think that the way restart that.
Then I open my browser to a choice of search engines that look up menus of almost anything I can think of, whether it's my project on Egypt or Andrew's playing games. It sounds complicated, but really it all happens behind the scenes, so it's easy for you. And you're right, you can find anything from planning a vacation to MTV or real-time live audio. The net's fabulous.
Now, maybe you've read or heard about the internet, but you're still not exactly sure what it is. Well, if that's the case, don't worry. In no time at all, you'll be able to impress everyone with your amazing techno staff.
What is my own homepage? Now that's a big project. You better get someone to help you. It's a piece of software that allows people to produce and publish websites on the internet and do so at a very affordable price. And its value is to be able to make publishing and internet publishing open to everyone.
With WordPress, it is open source. So from a legal point of view, from a copyright point of view, from a software freedom point of view, you can change every line of code, you can redistribute it, you can fork it, you can modify it, you can delete it, you can do really whatever you like, regardless of what the developers or the creators want you to, you know.
A lot of people who haven't seen it probably don't understand it. They kind of feel that if you release your wares to the public, then you're giving it away. I mean, how are you going to monetize it? How are you going to make any money doing it?
Open source is a methodology for software development that literally depends on a critical mass of humans. And the more people we have contributing to WordPress, the open source software, the better the software gets for more people.
But I'm curious, what's the typical point from a functional standpoint?
WordPress is made by hundreds of thousands of volunteers around the world, and most people think WordPress is made of code. And it's true, obviously it's a software, so it's made of code, but it's made of so much more.
WordPress is a set of code, it is a website, it is a service, it is all these other things. But it's also an idea that brings people together, something we can believe in, something that gives hope, and something that we can influence. And I think especially in today's day and age when there's so much going on in the world, something that we can believe in and make the world a little bit better than how we found it. Make it in the universe. Try to create the web that we want our loved ones or our future progeny to grow up in. Is exciting to be a part of.
This community is not made up of a group of paid individuals. They're all volunteers. And so a lot of people, why do you do this? What is it about this community? I think a lot about what motivates someone to participate in our program, team, speaker, etc. Some people come to us because they are so grateful to have this free software of WordPress and want to give back to the effort that makes WordPress possible. A lot of people come to us because they believe in the mission and they want to further it. A lot of people come to us because they realize that working within our program is a great way to that is completely centered around WordPress. So if you go to another conference, you're going to go to a conference that has all different kinds of topics, right? But when you go to a WordCamp, it's 2 full days of everything related to WordPress.
We're happy to chat about anything, and have a good camp. Everybody here is volunteering, is that right?
Everyone here is volunteering. Now I should say that our lead organizer, her volunteer has been us maybe even a 60+ volunteer job for at least the past 3 weeks, probably even more. And so we are volunteering, but at the end, volunteering almost turns into that full-time job. And so because of that, the volunteers either work for themselves and have their own company, so they take their valuable time and give it to this initiative, or they have very understanding and supportive employers who understand the value of community and who understand the value of this event. And by doing so, they then allow all of us to just give everything we have in this final stretch to this event. And so I want to thank companies for serving on this panel and doing what you do every day. Thank you.
I've gone to a lot of conferences, and those are called industry events. This is called community. There's a difference basically. You go to an industry event, you go to a trade show, it's about business. You go to a WordCamp conference, it's about the community, it's about making relationships.
WordPress is the community. It's the passion that people have for what they do. I think it's the idea that you can create as you will, and you can work with people at things like WordCamps and meetups and through the contributor team. And I think it just makes people feel at home and welcome. And I think it's just something that everyone is looking for, a place to belong.
Every person in the community has this commonality of being open and wanting to help others without fear of hiding looking on or without fear of competition. As you'll see in this community, or maybe as you have seen, there are people that work for various web hosts that are all very good friends. There's no sense of we're better than you, or we don't want you to succeed. Everybody kind of helps each other. I mean, we hear that in natural disasters. So this everybody stepped up and helped each other. And I think that's kind of human nature, except when you get into the world of business, or I want to sell this and make money, or I need to do this to put food on the table. In spite of all that, when you come to a WordCamp, it's so inspiring to see the openness and the willingness of everybody to help each other.
I just got there, I was like, this is unbelievable. All these people are here to make this software that is used by other millions of people.
This is a community that really thrives on openness, collaboration, and including more people than they necessarily need.
So Matt, there's a $10 billion ecosystem surrounding WordPress. How do you reconcile all volunteers giving so much of their time to the community without pay and the business WordPress that makes so much money?
I think that the way, let me restart that. So WordPress is built on the GPL, which provides the 4 freedoms. One of the freedoms says that you can charge for things. So although we distribute all the WordPress stuff for free, if you want to take it, repackage it, and charge for it, that's totally fine. So when you look at the $10 billion a year flowing through the WordPress community, it's built on things, but it's also people building e-commerce shops and selling books, and selling photographs, selling anything else. So it's enabled by WordPress. And we have this thing we push called Fire for the Future, which is the idea that if whatever you're getting out of WordPress, if you can put 5% back into essentially things that benefit the community, not just you, it avoids the tragedy of the commons. This sort of thing that is common in open source in lots of things, that everyone kind of overmines the shared resource, and then it dries up. It doesn't get the investment or care taken it needs to be truly sustainable. I think 5% is actually a good rule of thumb, and that can be given back in terms of time, money, donations. It's just basically saying, 5% of the time, or 5% of my resources, I'm going to put back towards things that benefit the world. And that, I think if the whole world did that, it'd be a much better place.
Why do you want to keep doing it? Isn't it step in and do all of the work? Aren't you ready to let go? No, I'm not. Because if I wasn't doing this, I would be missing it. Because I really enjoy it. I have fun. There's a great sense of accomplishment whenever you work with a group of people and when you put together an amazing work. And it has nothing to do with any kind of recognition, any kind of business decision. It really is about, this is truly what I enjoy doing. It's a hobby.
It's community over competition, right? It's like, how can we build this thing with everyone has a piece of the pie, everyone has a way to impact the world with their thoughts and their beliefs. And I think that's why I feel passionately about it. I like the idea that everyone is welcome and everyone can create and everyone can change.
WordPress is cool. It's a canvas, a blank canvas. People can paint on it something beautiful, or they can paint something very beautiful and ugly. I do believe that as humanity becomes more connected, as we interact with each other more, that does start to break down probably the biggest myth in modernity, which is that we're all separate. We're not. And the more that people learn that and connect with their fellow humans and other things in nature, we realize that we're all part of the same system, all part of the same thing. The actions of one impacts everything else in the system, whether that's the planet, climate, nature, animals, space. Who knows where it goes? Portland, Seattle, Nashville. And we're listed under a Creative Commons license. Learn more about that.
That's right. In fact,
I think
the best advice we can give you is get on it and start exploring.
Well, those will in the next one. You might have seen some familiar names there. That was produced by Mark Monder and Kathy Zings. You might know from some of the WordFence work. But I thought this was a beautiful contribution to the WordPress world. I'm actually going to be submitting it to festivals coming up. So hopefully this could make it to South by or one of the other great festivals. If you have any pull with any of those, please get in touch with Mark or someone so we can get it in. But a good illustration as well of the different types of contributions. So when I saw a preview of it, that's my first time seeing the final cut. Wow, could we premiere that at the State of the Word? That'd be kind of cool. So thank you all for joining that. So the place is also called the Louvre. Yes. That's something y'all say? Yes. Do people from the UK look at you funny? This is actually not my first time. It's also called the Louvre. Yes. That's something y'all say? Yes. Do people from the UK look at you funny? This is actually not my first time in St. Louis. I was back here for a Happiness Meeting in 2011, which was my first exposure to a city museum. And of course, I'm familiar with the St. Lunatics and other culture ambassadors you have out there in the world. Though I was not aware that St. Louis hosted the World's Fair in 1904. And in fact, many amazing technological innovations have come out of it, including the wireless telephone, X-ray machines, electric streetcars, and the first prototypes of personal automobiles, which back then were both gas and electric. It took like 100 years to come back to the electric. So it seemed fitting to have the event here and also to look at where WordPress has been and where we're going to go. This event was brought to you by 47 organizers, 122 volunteers, and 90 speakers. This event was also brought to you by the sponsors that make it so that the ticket is so inexpensive. Thank you to Bluehost, WooCommerce, Jetpack, and Google. So, as we head into the final months of 2019, that's our earliest working on QS in a while. We collaborated, our accomplishments, and just everything that's going on with this year. We've had 2 core releases so far this year. First, WordPress 5.1, named for Betty Carter, included the first iteration of the site health screen, which some of you might be familiar with. That's a few fans. The idea behind this is that, again, WordPress is all about empowering users, and we wanted to put the information and the tools in the hands of users as well to keep the site running in tip-top shape. As we empower an ever-increasing percentage of the web, it is our responsibility, it behooves us to try to make sure that portion of the web is safe, secure, up-to-date, and running the latest and greatest stuff. So this gives people information they can use themselves or get in touch with their support, hosting, or things like that. We had a lot of developer experience with 5.1, including the cron API. This is kind of the thing that runs in the background of WordPress that makes actions happen at certain times. So let's say you schedule a post. Have you ever wondered how that actually gets posted at the time when you schedule it? We have kind of a weird cron thing built into WordPress. We've enhanced it now so that advanced hosts or hosts that have a lot of cron scheduled tasks can hook into that and make it more efficient. We also, for the multi-site fans in the room, added a site meta feature, which gives developers a more performant way to store arbitrary data, as opposed to just dumping everything in options like we used to. 5.2, named for Jaco Pastorius, came out in May. This one was pretty exciting because what you see on the left there is the old widget screen, and on the right is the new widgets, all available within Gutenberg, which also means that you can edit them in line and see exactly what they're going to look like in the real-time Gutenberg interface. We also, I did a quick iteration based on feedback from y'all saying that there were a lot of blocks. Good problem to have. So we made it for yourself or for your clients. You could hide or show certain blocks. We have a block manager. And then finally, you shouldn't see this anymore. WSOD stands for the white screen of death. I guess originally it was called this because it was a play on the blue screen of death that Windows used to be, unless they have. But basically what this means, if you visit your site and you see this, there was probably some sort of PHP error or something that is preventing your site from loading. And unfortunately, that makes it also hard to fix your site if it's erroring out. So now, when something like this happens, particularly from an auto upgrade or a plugin upgrade, you get a special email with a link that lets you basically navigate to a URL which deactivates the plugin before it loads and allows you to then turn it off and get back into your site. So again, this is just an example of something coming up from users, coming up from support forums that we've identified as common barriers in our user experience and did a lot of work to try to rectify. WordPress 5.3 is coming out on November 12th, so just around the corner. This is not a pre-announcement of the Jazz, we always do that on the day. So you'll see what Jazz person is named for, but it's a very, very exciting release for a number of things. We have over 150 block editor improvements. So some of you might not know, but the version of Gutenberg that's been shipping with WordPress 5.2 is a few months out of date now. And there's been lots of updates since then, as I will talk about more later. but I'm very, very excited to get all the Gutenberg improvements in the hands of a wider audience. It's also coming with a new default theme. This is 2020. It is a Gutenberg first, beautiful CMS powered theme with an original design contributed by Anders Nord, and then of course expanded by the 2020 team. It is really slick. I have switched my own site, ma.tt, over to it. And it really highlights some of the power of Gutenberg, so I highly encourage checking it out. If you would like to get involved in some of the final, it's basically done, but if you want to see the code behind it and some of what went into it, you can check it out on GitHub as well. In the vein of improving things for administrators, making work easier to run for everyone, we've put in a little screen that just kind of verifies your admin email, which is separate from your user email. So we would send out emails like when things were auto-updating, when things broke, but we found that a lot of people had set up that email when they first started and never looked at it again. So now about every 6 months, you'll get like a little, hey, is this still your best email type screen. Again, these things seem simple, but it's a foundation on which we can build a lot else on. Now we can start to make more things dependent on that admin email.